to fail, and the whole world more interesting about this archive is very important for your country heritage and your country cultural diversity.
Thank you. That's a very important question. Thankfully, so far the funds of the Dovzhenko Center have not been hurt. We are in the center of the city, so it was at some distance from the combat. We haven't had any bombs or shells. Still, we made this decision to remove part of the funds to Lviv and preserve the other part of the funds in Kyiv, but I can't tell you the details. This is a bit incognito at the moment. More questions? In which case, my question for both of you, possibly the last one. Could you tell us about the relationship between the cinema and the war? In general, art during the war, as I said, it has to continue, it has to persist, because primarily it archives emotions, it archives the feelings, the sensibilities that are in the air right now. If we don't express it through art, it will be very dry, sometimes intolerable, and precisely because of the accumulation of what we are experiencing through art. Even through exhibitions that we're doing in our art center, we can discuss the war from a different angle. We can give this discourse some new turns, some new angles, new readings, new decisions, particularly psychologically. And so culture becomes also a window for many of us who are trying not only to read news, but also to develop, to continue developing as a person, because all of us are useful in this war when we are psychologically resilient. I would agree with Lana. I would only add that as a fresh example, we were showing, the day before yesterday, we were showing Stapsel gives Tarapunka away in marriage. This is a Stalinist-era Ukrainian film. It's very interesting that it starts with the shots of war, with screens of war, and we thought that it would be a trigger, that they would cause negative emotion. Nevertheless, it's a comedy. We took this challenge, we tried to show this film, and our impression was such that in spite of the fact that there's a war, but it's a comical situation, that through this cinema and through cinema in general, people can take a distance to current events, current affairs. This distance develops critical thinking, which we need, and which sets us apart from the aggressor in this information war. And also a very small remark also about this film that you mentioned, and about films that are now are being used in Russia, employed in Russia. Many cultural projects were created during wars or after wars to justify certain developments and give certain connotations to certain events, even for whole nations. We know how Russia shows Ukrainians in their movies. It's very kind of almost sacrilegious. It's a very silly level of discussion or discourse. So we have to be very, very attentive, very mindful, especially during a war, of what kind of cultural product you consume, both during the war and after the war, and even before the war. If you're interested in the topic of movies and speculation in war, you should look at the blog of Zahin Kinomaniv, where they analyze the films that are being fed in Russia at the moment. I would much recommend that you better watch the 100 best movies of the Ukrainian cinema, as recommended by the Dovzhenko Center. Thank you, Lena Mitsko, Alexander Taluk. Thank you for your initiative and for telling us about